Thanks, Justin, and thanks to our panellists too for their very insightful and interesting take on why our lighthouse precincts have such an important role to play in the Western Sydney growth story. Before I throw to morning tea in a little bit, I just want to let you know there's been a slight change to the program. Our chairman, Christopher Brown, and Jeff Roberts will be pleased to know this. But he was originally going to headline this next session about how we can take Western Sydney to the world. But I think in the interests of getting to the break on time and to hopefully give you all a bit more of a longer morning tea, I'm going to take the lead. So the original premise for this presentation was centred on how we can elevate and promote the economic and investment opportunities in Western Sydney globally. If I'm being honest, I don't have a complete answer or enough time today to talk to what I can or think it should look like. What I will say is that there's a ton of stuff already being done, and we've heard a little bit about that this morning from our investors, NEC, Hitachi and SMBC, and from Jeff Roberts and Lisa there. We've also got Amy Brown coming up later in the program from Investment New South Wales, who will talk about the work government is doing to help and sell the Western Sydney message. Underpinning that interest and those opportunities is the talent and the businesses that are already here. And they've been here for some time. Our region has never had a shortage of talent. It's been home to some of the best manufacturers in the world. And we'll hear later today about the guys at Custom Denning, the electric bus company out at St Mary's, who are doing things that no other company in the world are doing. We've got leaders in mattresses. The guys introduced the King Core mattress to Australia, and more recently the world first Reflex mattress technology, running their headquarters in Revesby. When you go to bed tonight, there's a very good chance that you're going to be sleeping on one of their products. We'll also hear from the chair of Tesla, Elon Musk's boss, Robin Denholm, later today, who started out from her parents' service station in Milperra. These are just a few examples of the talent, enterprise and ingenuity that is often bubbling away under the surface. Businesses and individuals who are quietly but successfully going about their business in Western Sydney. For me and for the dialogue, Western Sydney's future and its global identity is very much tied to its roots. Roots that, although firmly established, still need to be nurtured and encouraged. And while we should continue to look at ways to unlock and leverage our existing network of manufacturers, business and suppliers, we should also do that with one eye towards the next wave of talent that's waiting in the wings. It's part of the reason why I thought it was important to hear from our educators earlier this morning. It's why teachers like Greg Whitby and Dorothy and Rachel are so important. These are people who have recognised the value of our human capital and have spent a lifetime trying to make sure it is harnessed in a way that's going to create meaningful and lasting outcomes. At the dialogue, we're also doing what we can to unearth and provide opportunities for our next generation. We've set up Gen West, our youth initiative designed to provide a platform for young people to get involved in what we do, offering them a chance to network and be exposed to new people, projects and initiatives that are happening across the region, while at the same time providing us with a younger and often inspiring perspective. If you ignore that creepy guy standing in the left corner of that photo, that's our Director of Partnerships, Brett Towers. Ignore him, but these are some of the smartest driven young people that you could find. They come from a range of backgrounds and have plenty of ideas on how to make Greater Western Sydney a better place. Fortunately, most of this cohort were afforded the opportunity to further their studies or training post-high school. But it's important to note that not all students have this luxury. We set up the Western Sydney Leadership Dialogue Scholarship with that in mind, recognising that despite the drive, the energy and skills that many of our students have, sometimes life circumstances make things difficult. This scholarship was provided to high-performing students in the region and established to help them overcome the financial, social and health barriers which can often stop students from being their best. I'm really thrilled that young Nima Ahmadi, one of our scholarship recipients from Northmead High School, was able to join us today. He's sitting up there in the corner. I've got to sign your absentee slip later, mate, so make sure I get to that. He's a remarkable young man. If you do have the chance to catch up with him during the break, please do so, because he's a great example of perseverance, resilience and excellence. He also wants to be a lawyer, so if there are any legal eagles in the room interested in taking someone under their wing, you could do a lot worse than Nima. I mentioned earlier this morning, today's event was born from the need to rethink the way we approach economic development and create the jobs of tomorrow. We've heard a little bit about that this morning. It can sometimes be a little bit difficult because in many cases we don't know what the jobs of the future are going to be. What we do know and why we're committed to helping shape is Western Sydney's human architecture. That there's a real opportunity for local leaders to be at the coalface of the change that is coming. One of our goals is to get our students, our thinkers, in any field, whether they're from Western Sydney or for Western Sydney, to think about how they can step out and step up. Most of us at the dialogue won't be able to talk about additive manufacturing, robotics or coding. Pretty sure most of us don't even know how to change a tyre. We see our role as innovators slightly different to the Atlassians, the Googles, the Teslas of the world. What we can do and what we are doing differently is to establish a leadership cohort, one that understands and can tell Western Sydney's story, whether it be locally or internationally. The understanding bit is probably the hardest but the most important part. And that's why we established our collaborative leadership program, which Faith's talked to a lot this morning, probably hear from a little bit more later today, in partnership with state government and Western Sydney University. We held it for the first time just a fortnight ago, and this was the warts and all, real-life, real-time version of Western Sydney. The one that you see, smell, touch and taste, not just read about in a glossy 4-pager. This was our opportunity to connect 40 current and emerging leaders in the region, partners of Big Four consultancy firms, CEOs of major corporations, senior executives in government, education and community, bunkered down in Western Sydney for 5 days. Not only do they get to swap stories and build what we hope will be a sustainable, ongoing network, but they learn about leadership and communication. They saw what sits beneath the surface on some of the major infrastructure projects, as well as the community's voices and initiatives that often don't get the same type of attention. It was an eye-opening experience for many, and to see and hear the feedback from those within our network, some of whom are here today, about the impact that this initiative generated is something that sits at the heart of what the dialogue is about and why we want to see this program continue to roll out over the years. It wasn't the first time we tried our hand at what Christopher Brown, our chair, calls social engineering. We had our first crack back in 2019 when we took 30 prominent leaders from Western Sydney to explore East London, an area which, like our own, was undergoing significant urban regeneration, was being shaped by rapid population growth, home to a number of catalytic transport projects, as well as young multicultural communities. While these factors made it an obvious choice for the dialogue when selecting a region to best study, the real magic and the value of this journey came via the professional networks it helped forge, and which has endured and will continue to serve the region today. Given the success we've had in helping others better understand Western Sydney, as well as learn from places around the world that have undergone similar challenges, we don't plan on stopping. Next stop on our itinerary is Japan. And obviously there's plenty of existing synergies and relationships with many of the corporate groups that we'll hear from and are with us today. Japan is already the second biggest source of foreign direct investment in Australia, behind the United States. And combined with strong intergovernment ties, there's an opportunity to build on what is already a very strong platform of shared interest. We're still in the very early stages of planning for this initiative, which we expect to take place in 2023, but we'll be sure to keep you posted on how things progress. So, I promise to get you to morning tea on time. I'm going to leave it there, but before I do, I just want to go back and try to quickly answer the question that was first posed at the start of this discussion, which was, how do we tell Western Sydney's story to the world? Sure, it doesn't hurt to take the show on the road and to places like East London, Japan. There's probably a bunch of other places, Israel, North America, etc. But really, it's what happens here that really matters. And it's what happens next which really has the potential to shape how Western Sydney is defined. It's no longer about potential. It's no longer being about the city's poor cousin. Western Sydney's story, and one that we can become known for, is centred on delivery and driven by creativity. And it's happening. I've seen living, breathing examples of it at Westmead. It's at the new WSU and UNSW Engineering Hub in Parramatta. It's coming out of the ground at Sydney Science Park at Luddenham. I've seen it with the new migrant entrepreneurs at Catalyzer who are developing the world's first global satellite. There are countless other examples from all across the west and southwest which are putting Western Sydney well and truly on the map. Individuals, organisations, businesses, who are progressive, who are out there challenging traditions, breaking barriers, and taking risks. And in doing so, also helping a new Western Sydney narrative, one that will make the world take notice. Thanks, guys. Enjoy morning tea, and we'll see you back here in 30 minutes.